It's always wonderful to be with my church family here again. You're all my family, even if I'm not here every Sunday. So I'm not used to speaking in front of people without a mask because when I was teaching, I had to wear a mask 5 hours straight, lecture, and now that I'm working and advising at RAC, I'm still wearing a mask, answering the phones all day long. So I'm kind of naked without this mask on at the moment. You know, all the acne, all the, skin issues I have because of wearing my mask are apparent. But thank you so much, Audrey, for what you said in your story, The Good Samaritan. To keep things as brief as I can and keep it focused, first just to update everybody what has happened in my life recently is that, just so you know, Jacob and John and Daniel still all live with me. We have a new house. It's 3 bedrooms, but Dan's in the basement because we don't have a bedroom for him. That's his own. So he made it a man cave. But being 16 and trying to be tough, he's becoming quite afraid down there, but trying to hide it. So as we get one of the boys upstairs to move out, then Dan can move in. John is 20 now. He's engaged to be married July 10th at Bowmansville. He's engaged to a special needs girlfriend along with his special needs. So there's a lot of effort to get agencies to help him get in a group home so that I'm not burdened to take on both of them when they get married. Jacob is working full-time at Turkey Hill. He has a very serious girlfriend who has been through a lot of abuse and things, so she's been staying with me for a little while. I'm trying to get them out of the house as well so they can move on in life. And then we have Dan, who has a very loving, deep spirit, as you all have known and seen. He's 16 and he's not always making some of the best choices, but he always loves his church family, his people. He thinks he knows everything right now, so he's kind of going through that phase. But anyway, that's the dynamic of our little household. But we are so blessed to have a new house and having things like windows that work, and it's really nice. So versus the old house that Bob had all these indoor extension cords running under the house with space heaters trying to keep the pipes from freezing. And it's a big relief for me not to have to worry about that. So thank you, God, for putting a tree through the middle of the house in hindsight to change all that, though we had challenges with that. So anyway, to go to Bridge of Hope journey, I kind of have to blame Dave Harnish for my journey with Bridge of Hope, and he probably doesn't understand how that all happened. I'm going to get really personal here. I'll try to keep it brief, but when I was divorcing my first husband, I had to have PFAs. There was abuse going on. The last straw was when he was trying to take it out on Dan. So in the journey of being separated and living with someone in an in-law suite up at Alsa's Christian Fellowship, another Christian family, as well as New Holland Mennonite is a Christian family of mine, and currently Bowmansville Mennonite Church is a Christian family. So I've gained lots of church family and friends. But anyway, in that journey, I had worked as Bob's assistant at Four Seasons Produce. He brought me to Christ, as everybody here knows. He saw the pain in my eyes every day. He'd slip little tracts, on my desk. He put a sticky prayer on my little cubicle. If it was really serious, it was on the handle of the telephone. I mean, he was just that kind of guy, as you all know. He was here for so many years. So all said and done, he wanted to help me and Dan so much. This is before it was romantic. He just wanted to help us. Well, I had thought I was going to leave and go back to Seattle. I thought maybe I just need to start all over again. I just felt so lost, and I was so afraid of what was going on in those proceedings. Bob took me out to lunch, and it was one of the weirdest things I think he's ever done in his life. He said, "I'm a Christian man. I'm not allowed to be with a divorced woman, but I just wanted you to know that when your divorce is final in 2 years, if you have any interest, I would like to date you then." He said, "This is totally inappropriate. I shouldn't be doing this. But I don't want you to go to Seattle and leave forever, And I was just floored by that. I was so out of character for him. And I was just so smitten at that moment in time. I thought, wow, that's a man. So unfortunately, we kind of got, we're older, but we can be in love and do things too. We showed up at church. We're holding hands. I'm not divorced yet. He's an elder of the church. And all of a sudden, Dave Harnish, he could have ignored it. He didn't. And I really respect him for him. This is the kind of man he is. He carefully took Bob out and said, that's not what we should be doing here. It's not really appropriate. And even though Bob was the most caring person in the world, he would have never done anything to harm the process of the church. I certainly wouldn't have either. Dave had the guts to tell him that basically we needed to do that. And Dan Aldhouse took me out to lunch and suggested I go find another church for a while and get independent. So until my divorce is final and we can see what happens after that point in time. And I was counseled by quite a few people from Alsace to Marietta to other that I shouldn't just jump into a relationship after all I've been through in life. I need to get on my own 2 feet. And that was so hard and tearful and terrifying to hear because it's so easy to go from one man to another man and not be afraid to be homeless and single, that there's a lot of pressure. I see it all the time in Reading for these single moms with kids to get in a relationship just to have a roof over their head and other things. So you have Bridge of Hope here helping single women have an alternative to maybe making relationship choices that are not appropriate and certainly not Christian based. So here I have a wonderful Christian man, but I'm kind of in the same boat, I can't just throw myself on Bob. That's not appropriate. So I ended up going to New Holland, meeting up with Ron and Judy Zook, who you all know for many years. And through them, they were kind of helping me and Dan a little bit. I got an apartment that Bob did co-sign on because I had no credit score. But Bob and I did this thing that we would have Sunday dinners together. And it wasn't just us, it was all the people at the auction places and Bobby's friends, and we just had this huge table Sunday night, and we would share our week, and I would share what I learned at church, and Bob would share what he was doing at church, and all these non-Christians would just listen, and anyway, it was just a fun thing. So we were doing that for 2 years. Anyway, how did I get into Bridge of Hope? Well, I tried twice during different problems with trying to pay my rent. Being an adjunct teacher, I only had income 9 months out of the year, so I would try to save my little income to cover those 3 months. And it was always a struggle because either my car would break down or something happened, but I was trying, and I have a college degree. I don't need any help. I'm fine. I can do this, whatever. So then comes my ex-in-laws into the picture, and I was trying to be this Christian woman, and one of my in-laws came to me and said that my nieces were in abusive trouble from their grandmother, my ex-mother-in-law, and it was horrible, and she had no money, and she begged me to help my nieces out to be safe. And being the new kind of Christian woman I had, I said, well, I have my money saved up to cover my rent over Christmas when I'm not teaching, but if you can have it as a loan and pay me back when you get your tax refund, I'll be okay. And what happened was, she took the money. I didn't get the tax refund back, and she was sending her kids to different fun activities and spending this money. And I was struggling, and I got an eviction letter, and I had nothing to cover that last month and a half gap. And I had an eviction letter, and I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to tell Bob about it because you know what Bob would have done? He would have fixed it, right? He always fixed everything. This was my problem, and I thought I was doing the right Christian thing. I was praying to God. Bob will fix it. I mean, God will fix it, not Bob will fix it. God will fix it. If I pray, I was so confused in my Christian life. Well, why did this happen? Well, Ron said, well, there's Bridge of Hope. And he helped me get in there. Other people helped me get in there. But all this was kind of started by Marietta encouraging me to be my own person and not just run to Bob for everything. Even though he's the most wonderful man in the world to do that, it was still the right thing to do for me to be there. So I got involved in Bridge of Hope. And of course I kept trying to defend myself to Bridge of Hope. Well, I need a little help. I don't need much help. I just need a little help. I don't need much help. It's fine. And they practically had to tell me to shut up and listen and let me be me and just pour out all this emotion I had pent up from when I grew up in a cult, from the abusive marriage, from trying to be a parent to Dan, and all the stuff. And eventually, I had to put into it everything. And the beauty with Bridge of Hope, because technically I was, is they got me independent. They got me back on my feet mentally as much as physically, as much in a Christian way. And this was done through the neighboring group, now I call them as mentoring group in my day, at New Holland Mennonite. In fact, my BFF, who is now 90 years old and was one of my bridesmaids, is one of my best friends from that group. But I didn't have just one Christian friend, I had 8. And so it wasn't they always told me it wasn't such a burden for one of them. One of them maybe in 6 weeks would watch Dan on a Saturday while I had to work an extra hour at RAC or something. So being that was spread out among so many, but when I was with each of those people, I had every trust and confidence in the world because theirs weren't to be secret, and I could share things about trying to move on in life, how to be a wife for Bob maybe someday, or have a relationship with him. There was so much going on in life that having that neighboring group while I'm getting my finances in order, while I'm getting a car that runs, while I'm getting some babysitting so I can keep taking on more classes at RAC to pay the bills. But all this emotional support and a lot of Christian support. Having 8 Christian neighboring people, all from different backgrounds, helping me. I could ask all these questions, like, why did I give this person money and they took advantage of me and now I'm homeless? Why? I had all these whys, So that's what the neighboring did for me in such a great way. So that when I graduated from Bridge of Hope, guess what? Bob wanted to have a relationship with me still. And there we have the true love. But it wasn't the love of me being just codependent on him and just leaning and falling on him. I was kind of an independent person, going into a relationship, and he was, so that when we went into our pre-marriage counseling, we could go at it, share different opinions and different ideas. It turned me into a totally healthier person. And I thought, well, I don't need this. I'll be with Bob for the rest of my life. Sadly, we all know what happened. But what did Bridge of Hope do? It was there through the sickness. It was there through the funeral. It was there through the trip to Israel, which was crazy by many viewpoints. It was there when all of a sudden, instead of having one kid to take care of, I had 3, 2 with special needs. That's what Bridge of Hope set me up to do. And in many ways, Marietta was a big part of that, with all the support and the friendliness back and forth, and in the relationship with Bob as well. So that's the part I wanted to say. The other part I wanted to say was Bob did not like Bridge of Hope. He did not want me to be a part of it. He didn't like change. He wanted me the way I was. He was afraid that I would become independent and maybe I didn't want to be with him. Even though he said, well, we'll just see you in 2 years if you want to have a relationship with me. He did not want that. He wanted me the way I was. So Bob had a journey with Bridge of Hope as well that he had to learn to accept my growth. I wasn't Rose, who we got married at when he was a teenager. I'm this older lady with a lot of stuff, So it helped us both to grow. Even though our marriage was very short, it was such a fulfilled marriage, and it was blessed by God. And now that he's gone, I'm so blessed by God and by Bridge of Hope. I'm now on the board of directors of Bridge of Hope. They've somehow got me involved in that, and it's so interesting to see how that organization is run. And there's such a demand, but you have to be so careful in running Bridge of Hope because you can't take on everybody because it would collapse. The structure would collapse. So by having it set up the way it is, Bridge of Hope is changing not just the life of that mother, those kids. What did Dan see in all of that? He saw so much. He saw my pain. He saw my growth. He saw how people helped. One of the fellows there took Dan on a Saturday down to his basement and taught Dan to make these bread baskets for everybody in our Bridge of Hope group. And he was so proud of those bread baskets. In fact, most of the Bridge of Hope neighbors still have those bread baskets that he made. That there's so much. So Bob had like 15 Compassion International kids at one time. How he could afford that, but he did. I still have 6 of them. They've been growing. They've been graduating. I haven't been renewing any, but I'm still supporting 6 of them and writing to them as well. In that place, they're taking one child and changing families by making that child growth. Bridge of Hope is changing a mother, and through that, a whole family, and through that, future generations, because it's not just the mother going down to the kids. It can be the mother going to the parents, to sisters, to aunts and uncles who may not need Bridge of Hope, but to see the Christian, which is so important, and then the neighboring support as an example. And even though Berks County doesn't have a Bridge of Hope, I'm always running into these homeless women and relationships and stuff, so I do my best to be an example, or sometimes I can use some of what I've learned at Bridge of Hope to help them feel independent so they don't have to go into a relationship either. And sometimes they're pretty shocked when I tell them, well, I was working at RAC, but I was also homeless. And I wasn't one of those homeless people that people turned away from. I was sneakier than that. I led 2 lives. I acted like I had everything was fine when I was down here crying every night. So thank you, Bridge of Hope, for everything. And I can't thank everybody here enough for everything. And Dave Harnish and Brenda enough for all they have done behind the scenes that they may not be aware of. That's just one little thing that has happened in this journey of this church, too. So thank you.